It's the weekly wrap with your host, broadcasting legend Bruce Wolf, and his trusty sidekick, comedian Tim Slagle. And now, without further ado, Bruce Wolf.
Bruce Wolf, Tim Slagle on the weekly wrap. Oh, my Tim. Happy days.
You know what? It wasn't that bad. It just wasn't as good as we thought it was going to be.
No. I love when you try and soothe me. Oh,
well, yeah, you're in Illinois. You're in Illinois, so
sing "Soft Kitty" to me. Oh yeah, make me feel good. We always have to the de rigueur mention of the background for Tim. For those of you who are not watching at home, it looks to me, if you squint, it looks like he's in Arlington National Cemetery right now. It's a bunch of tombstones. No, but actually it's a bunch of empty chairs. And I assume those are the seats that were vacated by the partisans for Darren Bailey at about 1 minute after 7 on Tuesday night. Oh my God. You know that,
yes, I don't know if it is, but it was the closest picture I could find, and that's what I was trying to imply. Yes, sir, you are correct.
All great minds on the same track. So I've been boycotting the media. I'm like Kari Lake now. I think but for different reasons. Well, we're both former anchors who are so cute and have the little pixie haircuts, but so I would normally plagiarize from the Neocon commentary podcast with John Podhoretz, Abe Greenwald, Noah Rothman, Christine Rosen. But I'm sick of these people because they were almost as bad as Dick Morris in 2012. Do you know what happened with Dick Morris in 2012? He was on Fox the entire time, and the former Clinton advisor had a foot fetish. Nothing wrong with either of those, being an advisor or having a fetish.
And Hillary knew, and when he turned on them, she outed him.
There you go. And she was
he's
justified.
lucky. He's lucky considering what happened to some Clinton opponents.
Yeah, Clinton opponents, the cats of Clinton opponents, all kinds of Clinton opponents.
He lived to suck toes another day.
I've actually talked to him a couple of times. He was such a huckster for whatever book he was writing, and he was so convincing. And the guy in 2012 was making us feel real good because Obama was running for re-election, and he had this formula. I forgot what it was, but he said, no, they're not coming out for him like they did in 2008. We've seen this, and the 2010 midterm showed everything, and we all believed it. And then later, apparently it came out that he was just lying to us to make us feel good. So, look, the commentary podcast, they're all really intelligent guys and everything. And they did have these caveats all the time. As a matter of fact, they had Steve Kornacki, who I think is from MSNBC, and he was on toward the end of last week saying, you know what? I mean, the enthusiasm level between Democrats and Republicans is about the same right now. And of course, I think John Podhoretz, like most of us, was incredulous but on all the issues like inflation, the country's going in the wrong direction. It's overwhelming. And this is what history shows. And then Kornacki goes, yeah, but if you add abortion and democracy dying together, they're not quite what inflation means. And and it turns out, he was right.
I actually heard that Gen Z had a lot to do with the way the election turned out.
Yeah.
And I was thinking today, Gen Z doesn't care about high gas prices. Gen Z is not as attached to their vehicles as we were. Gen Z did not spend their teenage years working on cars and garages like I did.
Right.
Gen Z, when they were kids, their parents drove them everywhere.
What's Gen Z? Is Gen Z like
just underneath millennial?
Which is no, but it's just like, what's the top age on Gen Z? Is it like
2000? 96, I think, or something like
96 or like
99, 99, I think is.
I'm just wondering, are these the ones who aren't having sex or whatever? They're not.
No, but that's anything. The other thing too. They didn't want cars. They didn't need cars because their parents let them have sex in the basement.
Oh, there you go.
Right.
No, the young
for them,
vote,
gas prices are something that their Uber driver has to deal with.
The young vote was really high for this election, so you're right about that. It was, it's supposedly only the the doting, people in their dotage like you and me who go out to the polls.
Don't you pay for gas? No, I got to.
No, they're
I don't
out
have
there.
a car.
And also, here's another stat that I saw that
they're also right there in the accidental pregnancy age too. So
totally. So exactly, abortion was a big decision, a big reason. So men are like Republican by 20 points. Married men, married women are like 15 points in favor of the Republicans. Unmarried men are like 7 points in favor of the Republicans. So I mean, what do we have left? Transgenders, and we also have unmarried women who are like 37% in the Democratic column. I mean, it's the whole Julia story. Let me take it from birth to death. Because the government, it's like the priesthood. It's like it's like nuns. They're married to the church. In this case, they're married to the government.
More specifically, they're actually married to their Lord and Savior, not just the church.
And by Lord and Savior, I mean
they're married to Jesus.
I was thinking Bill Clinton or whatever Democrat we're talking about. No, so that's, and then of course that goes hand in hand with abortion. Unmarried women with abortion. Sure. It makes a lot of sense. And I mean, I don't even know if you even have to harvest their ballots. I mean, my personal story, this election, of course, I'm in the senior citizen home, and the guy comes around, has us just sign our names, and all I had to do was drool on the ballot in order to put some DNA according to Illinois law. So I didn't even have to sign it, but I didn't want to vote Democrat, so he whipped the ballot away from me. So I didn't get to vote. No, actually, I love these. I can't believe it. It should take me about 30 seconds to vote. All right. You walk in. I remember, this is how far back my first election was 72. I think I pulled a lever down that just went straight Republican, pulled a lever down. Nowadays, and it's not even all that modern. Do you have the same machines? It's on a computer screen, but you have to turn these knobs and stuff. You feel like Dr. Zarkov in the old Flash Gordon.
Oh no, there's my machine has push buttons. I remember those, boy. I love those. You go into the booth, you pull that black curtain. It kind of feels like you're in a peep show, and then you can flick the actual levers, metal.
Or you could vote straight by they'd give you one of these things from like the carnivals where you pound you just whack it, and then if you can ding it, you get the straight.
That would actually be fun. Is have whack-a-paw. So
well,
you can go in there with a hammer, and then little images of the candidates you don't want pop up, and you smack them on the head with the gavel.
Yeah, there should be a physical fitness requirement for voting. I mean, I'm not in favor of a poll tax. I mean, that's retro. I'm not in favor of a literacy test. Although, of course, as you know, Rahm Emanuel in 2015 gave us an illiteracy test. He didn't want anybody to have any knowledge about the Laquan McDonald case. So that was actually Jim Crow 2.0, not what you think it was, Joe Biden, where every record turnout in Georgia for 2.0 Jim Crow. But anyway, I actually had a hard time voting because did I turn the things the knob the right way? Then there was a red thing that you had to press, and I had it covered up by my cell phone and couldn't find it for a while. I mean, I almost needed help and assistance. Would have been very embarrassing.
Oh, because then you would have voted Democrat.
Oh, sure. But I made sure, so you're an Indiana voter, is that right? I mean,
yeah.
Yep. So, and we should mention Indiana because we are on an Indiana station. So I assume you did not vote for Frank Mrvan, or is it Mrvan or Mrvan? Is he like?
When I see those signs, I always pronounce it Mr. Van.
Yeah, there you go, Mr. Van. Was a dyed-in-the-wool Democrat, right?
Oh, man. Not only that. Here's a little behind the curtain here. He goes to my church.
Really?
I have quite often knelt behind him during communion, and he always turns his cell phone face down. And
is he checking his messages during the service?
He doesn't have it shut off. It's right there in case Nancy needs him to rush to Washington.
He's really important. Yeah.
Well, it was vibrating. It was vibrating during communion. I had to resist the urge to reach down and flip it over to see who was.
I saw his commercials. It's fine. He should have had the late Arthur Treacher say, "Now here's the dear boy himself, Mrvan." Do you recall Merv Griffin?
I really wanted him to lose. Because I really wanted to, during the sign of peace, to be able to say, Frank, it's really good to have you back in town.
Oh, man. But he's actually a devout goer. He's not a...
strangely enough. And friends with the priest.
See, because this is... it's incongruous. I mean, we all know that liberal Democrats are heathen savages. And I don't understand how he squares that with belief in your savior, but maybe we'll have him on the show to talk about this.
Yeah, good.
I'm wondering how we get to have a show on a Northwest Indiana station. Is there an Al Franken station in Hammond, Indiana? Air America station that airs Mrvan's ideology?
I don't know. We could have probably gotten Jennifer Ruth Green. I like her.
Sure. All right. 2 years. Mark it. Jennifer Ruth Green when she runs again, like Adlai Stevenson running against Ike for the second time. Bruce Wolf, Tim Slagle on the weekly wrap.
Hello, Maricopa County. I'm Bill Gates, the chairman of the Maricopa County Board of Supervisors.
And I'm Stephen Richard, the Maricopa County Recorder.
And we're here to give you an update on how things are going so far with the election. We've already had almost 44,000 people show up this morning, check in, and be available to vote. And things are going great out there, but there's one thing that we wanted to address to make people aware of today, and that has to do with our tabulators. We've got about 20% of the locations out there where there's an issue with the tabulator, where some of the ballots, that after people have voted them, they try and run them through the tabulator and they're not going through. But the good thing is we do, first of all, we're trying to fix this problem as quickly as possible. And we also have a redundancy in place. If you can't put the ballot in the tabulator, then you can simply place it here in where you see the number 3. And this is a secure box where those ballots will be kept for later this evening, where we'll bring them in here to Central Count to tabulate them.
Bruce Wolf, Tim Slagle on the weekly wrap. So, yeah, I mean, Arizona, of all the gin joints in the world, I mean, they had to screw it up. I mean, you'd think that they really have tried to put their best foot forward there, but they did screw it up. Now,
I can't believe they're still counting.
Well, Florida figured this out after 2000. Give Jeb Bush, please clap for Jeb Bush on this one, because he did do something right there, and they know how to do it. And Arizona can't do it, and they're still counting now.
Can't do it or don't want to do it.
That's the question, of course. Now, here's the thing. Kari Lake, and I sent this to Chris earlier, and I sent it to you, and I wish we had the soundbite actually, but she was on some show in soft focus because I think her husband videos are that way, and it works. Let me tell you, but she's a little bit gauzy on the truth, I think, too. But here's the thing. She made it sound like Desantis. We can play the audio. Okay, let's play the audio. All right, we got it. Okay.
Yeah, here it is. Is that Crowder? She on with Crowder?
Slow rolling our victory. They want to take the air out of this movement, and they can't do it because it's a movement, and we, the people, are fed up, and we're not going to slow down. We're not going to let them take the fire out of our belly. And so they slow roll the results. Ron DeSantis goes out, gives his big speech, and then they want to make it look like the Trump Republicans don't have a chance. We're going to win. I'm 100% sure of that. I think that Blake may even win with the look of what is left to be counted.
Yeah.
These votes are going to go Blake's way as well. And so they just want to control the narrative, and they can do that by how quickly they release results.
Yes.
Okay, now Chris, our producer, says, well, she's just blaming the media. But it sounded like, and the guy who tweeted this, a guy named David Edwards, says, she made it sound like Desantis is part of a conspiracy to slow roll her election results. But I mean, the media can't report this stuff any faster than it's being divulged. Right. They're not slow rolling that. So is she blaming the election officials and Ron DeSantis, or is she blaming the media? I think she's blaming the former. What do you think?
I can't figure it out. Okay. Like I said, Arizona is a puzzle to me. Yeah. Is it? Do they not? Is she talking about the media not wanting to declare victory?
That's what Chris thinks. But I mean, the media are rabid. They want to know what this is. They want to be the first ones to report this. And so, I mean, it sounds like she thinks there's a conspiracy among the election officials, and maybe Ron DeSantis is connected to it somehow as well, to thwart the Trumpian victory. Look, I'll tell you, just from my standpoint, I mean, I don't like, a lot of the Trumpers and the election deniers. And, I'm glad that Boldnunk or whatever his name in New Hampshire, I'm not unhappy that he lost, and Mastriano, was horrible in Pennsylvania. But, by this point, I'm begging for a victory, so I'll take Kari Lake. And, but I don't think it sounds like she's saying there was a conspiracy, by the election officials.
Well, let me put my tinfoil hat on here, okay, Bruce. As you know, I'm very comfortable inside this hat.
Yes, I do. I know that. Yeah.
Arizona is one of there's about four, maybe five states where election frauds seemed very possible during the 2020 election. And Arizona was one of those states. And unfortunately, in all those states, the establishment won. This is the only state where fraud was suspected, where there's a chance where the people who believe there is fraud might get elected. And who's in charge of running this election?
Look, I of course I disagree with you on this, and we've had your people on the show like Tim Finchem or whatever his name is, Finchem. But I guess Chris was just telling me in a note here that she was complaining that the election officials rolled out some Hobbs numbers last night and are holding back on her. I mean, look, that doesn't amount to a hill of beans. I mean, that's minutia. The results are going to come out here, and it just sounds a little nutso to say that. They're trying to slow roll it. Well, I mean, it's going to come out.
They're going to have to print some ballots. I think that's the problem.
Well, here's my question. I want to know, where was the Democratic fraud machine in Wisconsin, of all places? I mean, that was so close. Ron Johnson and Mandela Barnes, that same fraud machine that put Biden over the top just 2 years ago, couldn't deliver for Barnes. What the hell happened, Wisconsin?
Well, if I'm not mistaken, the Wisconsin Supreme Court said that ballot drop boxes are illegal. So this election had no drop boxes.
That stopped it. No ballot drop boxes.
Yep.
What did now there's so that
Detroit, they caught him again. They caught the vans coming into the counting center in Detroit in the middle of the night again.
That Wisconsin was in fact that was a fraudulent election 2 years ago.
Questionable 2 years ago, but yeah.
I mean, the only thing is it would be nice if you actually had more than a Dinesh D'Souza theory about cell phone pings. You got to actually have an audit that shows the ballots.
No, I agree.
And we don't have it. We've never had it. I wanted there to be it. I wanted the Fulton County recount, the audit, to show this stuff. I wanted it to be shown in Arizona, but we never got it. We never got that fraud, or at least not in sufficient numbers.
The only chance of that fraud being disclosed is if the Republican Attorney General, Kari Lake, both get elected in Arizona, and it looks likely.
I'll tell you. All right, I always want to bend over backwards. If they get elected and they can overturn the 2020 election, is that what they're going to do? They're going to overturn the 2020 election?
No, you can't, because the 2020 election didn't happen in Arizona. It happened in D.C. The actual election is the Electoral College.
No. But I mean, you could have had, if there's fraud, if they can show that there was fraud, it's never too late to show there was fraud in the 2020 election.
No,
and I would love to see it, but because I thought the legislature vote to have, and they did have an audit. It was done by a Trump friendly firm, but okay, where did that go?
If I'm not mistaken, there were about 200,000 ballots that there's missing chain of custody in Maricopa County for 2020. That's a lot.
Yeah, that's a lot. I'm telling you, where is this? I mean, I never see it. I know that I would see it even in rhino media would have it if there was. And speaking of rhinos,
that's the thing too, is that establishment Republicans, they know there's fraud. Sometimes they can swing it their way.
Absolutely. I mean, this is now we're getting crazy time. I want to see a debate between you and your sister, who I understand, and congratulations to her, has been elected to
Donnie Steele, a new brand new representative to the Michigan House.
Yeah.
And she would argue on your side on this.
And
we've had that discussion.
She's a rhino, and so you have. So there would be a debate.
Well, she calls herself an old-fashioned Republican. That's
right.
That's
country club
preferred.
Republican. Didn't go through the hard scrabble.
There you go.
Yeah, Donnie Steele. Okay, she didn't go through the hard scrabble stand-up comedy life that you did.
No,
doing work at gas stations.
No, she did not. She was in real estate, and then she quit that to be a stay-at-home mom. Yeah. And then, as you can see, both her boys are now raised and gone.
Yeah.
And she ran for treasurer, and just an example of how dedicated she was to winning that. She was elected township treasurer, with the last name Steele. So.
And doesn't believe that it happened in the 2020 election.
Nope.
No, right.
But she did watch 2,000 Mules, and she said it did raise some interesting questions.
Yeah, because she probably doesn't know anything about once she was able to realize exactly how cell phones work, and that it doesn't pinpoint things. Fox News wouldn't even air or give any publicity to D'Souza.
They arrested January 6th protesters based on the same geo-tracking data. So how could that not?
You can have geo-tracking data. It's just that there's a lot of people that will go near boxes and things like that over the course of time. It just wasn't enough. You don't have enough. It's enough to raise a suspicion, but it just wasn't
right.
enough.
At which point they looked at the camera tape. They knew where to pinpoint it. They said, "Oh, here's one of those There's one of the suspects going to a ballot box."
They didn't.
They turn on the camera, and son of a gun, here's someone sticking 20 ballots in a ballot box.
I can't believe it's devolved. Usually we devolve into so many other horrible things, but today but I asked for it. I opened the door for it.
I'll take off the tinfoil hat for the next block.
Fine. That's fine. All right, let's take a cleansing breath right here. Bruce Wolf and Tim Slagle on the Weekly Wrap.
Well, we had an election yesterday, and it was a good day, I think, for democracy, and I think it was a good day for America. Excuse me, I'm a little hoarse. Our democracy has been tested in recent years, but with their votes, the American people have spoken and proven once again that democracy is who we are.
Well, Tim Slagle on the Weekly Wrap, and
it's a great day for democracy.
Well, because the Democrats voted, but if the Republicans had won, it wouldn't have been a great day for democracy. Okay. Yeah, Chris, who gave me, our producer, who gave me that, give us that soundbite, said, well, it wasn't a great day because, the Republicans are going to take control of the House and the Senate. Well, I don't know about the Senate. We still don't know about the Senate. And it's such a slim margin, even if, do you look at it as a victory? Oh, Biden. Yeah. Do you look at it as the glass 10% full as opposed to 90% empty?
The House. What more could you ask for? They took the House by more of a majority. It looks like now there's more of a majority for Republicans in the House than there's been for Democrats for the past couple of years.
Yeah.
So that's a victory. The trouble is we were thinking it was going to be so much. And I know you in Illinois, my God, Illinois was like the exact negative picture of Florida. It's
Illinois. Can I just say
I called a poultry distributor, by the way.
Oh yeah.
$39.95.
Oh really?
That's what a duck's worth.
Okay. Oh, there you go. She won. Illinois.
Man, she was putting on her makeup 5 minutes before the polls closed.
Can I just say this for the record that Dick Uihlein sucks? But give me your money. And his little agent, my former partner Dan Proft, and I admitted I'm envious, that he's got the job on WIND and I don't, and he also makes a lot of money off the vigorish of these elections. But gee whiz, he's an outside agitator. He lives in Florida. He's a Florida resident now. How the hell do you have passion for Illinois politics if you don't live in Illinois? There's got to be something crazy going on there. But I think Uihlein just throws a tantrum. We had a chance to vote for this Mrvan guy who was the Aurora mayor, who was hardly the perfect candidate, but he would have done much better. Might have actually beaten Pritzker in this kind of election. Abortion wouldn't have been the issue that it apparently turned out to be. Pritzker got, 400,000 fewer votes than he did last time. So, hey, kudos, as Michael Jordan would say, for depressing that Chicago vote, with Charles Thomas saying that the black people haven't gotten enough medical marijuana dispensaries. It probably, and the crime thing probably did depress the vote for Pritzker in Chicago, but he still won going away. And it was a 12-point victory, and 12 points. In New York,
that's because the poll watchers did their job, according to the president.
Exactly. And there was also right. It was the daily Joe Kennedy machine resurrected from 1960. In New York, Hochul, is that her name? Yeah, right. Lee Zeldin made it pretty close, and he also helped, maybe with a little bit of gerrymandering too. I don't know exactly how it worked in New York, but there were some Republicans who won races in the House, and whereas of course in Illinois, as Chris gave me the statistic, gerrymandering, you get 45% of the vote for the Republicans, but of 17 House seats, Republicans got 3. So there you go for how to rig an election.
Gerrymandering is always corruption when it's the other guys doing it. Have you noticed that?
No,
Democrats held on to the U.S. House for a century based on gerrymandering.
Yeah,
it was not an issue until Newt Gingrich won in 94.
I was glad that he did that. But that's what happened in New York, and crime was an issue there. And it was, at least, and New York's a very liberal state, but at least he closed the gap. And I don't know. I think you were in favor of Mrvan in the primary. Am I right?
Yeah, I remember being in favor of Mrvan. I remember you weren't sold.
No. I was in favor of him over Bailey. Because I didn't think Bailey had a chance. And
over Bailey, sure.
Yeah, and that was the guy. And I just think, these conservatives, and I'm conservative. I voted for Bailey. I liked the guy. I just didn't think he had a chance. And it's about winning. It's not about throwing a tantrum. And that's what Republicans are doing. I mean, the Democrats were smart enough when they saw that they were going to go off the cliff in 2020. They got themselves together in the South Carolina primary, and they voted for Joe Biden, and he never looked back. Well, of course, he looked to the side and he thought he saw, Michelle Obama standing there, but it was actually his wife. It's just, but it's.
Well, when
we can't do that. We can't be sane in Illinois. We've got to throw a fit. I mean, what was the point of this candidacy, of the Bailey candidacy, and Jeannie Ives, for that matter, when she had the that ad, which was hysterical. It was a great radio bit. But that ad, if you remember, where they have a transgender, he looks like he's a Tootsie wannabe, and he's got a 5 o'clock shadow, and he's talking about getting into girls' bathrooms because he's a woman now. I mean, it was a stitch if you're doing a bit, if you're doing shticklock on the radio. But if you're trying to persuade a moderate Republican voter to come over to your side, it was totally alienating. Totally.
I think that might have played a lot better this year. I think I think with Leah Thomas winning the women's swimming championship, and
but I mean, I know you're being facetious, because still, look, if you've got the argument on your side, you don't have to pound people over the head and make it a bigoted. I mean, it's enough to show the 5 o'clock. I mean, the picture of Leah Thomas, where NBC, of course. You talk about Kari Lake put in soft focus by her husband. Leah Thomas, there was a picture that NBC News had of her in the water in the swimming pool, and you see that they've done something to it, because the actual photograph of her shows more of a 5 o'clock shadow. And
not since Elvis Presley has television been more concerned about filming from the waist up.
Right. Hi-yo. I'm glad I teed that one up for you. Would you like your 7-iron for the next shot, Mr. Slagle? Okay. There's a nice picture of, well, actually there he's kind of fresh faced. He doesn't look like he's got, his shoulders are much broader than mine are, but there's a lot of women who have broader shoulders.
Does he get to use the women's locker room?
Well, I would assume so.
Huh.
I would hope so. I mean, if
that would be a problem for me. I think it would be obvious that I'm a lesbian.
Speaking of the transgender issue, did you see this story that a big victory for the reactionaries like us? I think there was a court that ruled that appellate court that there's a pageant, I guess, called Miss United States of America. Already you're in trouble, because I mean, what happened to Miss America? Did we have to combo Miss USA and Miss America because it wasn't popular enough anymore? I don't know the recent history of that.
I think I just heard that Miss Universe got sold or is up for sale, or somebody put a bid in for it or something.
I mean,
like
are they comboing it with other galaxies now and everything? Because, well, Miss Universe would be the entire.
There was a Lost in Space episode like that, where they had a real Miss Universe contest, and I think Will Robinson and Dr. Smith got to judge.
Oh, danger, Will Robinson. You're getting excited right now. So but anyway, so there's this Miss United States of America pageant, and Sissy Willis tweets, the legal victory of the Miss United States of America pageant undoubtedly will shape such cases in the future. In a big win for free speech, a federal court rules that the beauty pageant need not include a transgender female. So, that's a little victory there, that the Miss United States of America pageant doesn't have to have a transgender. If Bert Parks were still around, and I'm sure he's glad he's dead right now. I mean, can you imagine him having to sing "There She Is" or "He" or whatever, Miss United States of America? I think it's already a tongue twister by saying Miss United States of America.
Was that the one where there was like a 250-pound transgender contestant? I heard about that somewhere. Was that pageant? They actually won.
I'm kind of glad that they got the swimsuit competition. I guess. All right. So, although if Kari Lake's husband's shooting in soft focus, it's fine. Oh, I had a rejoinder to your comment last segment, when I thought I came up with a winning argument. Oh, what happened to the Democrats in Wisconsin this time? Why didn't they do, what happened to the Democratic cheating machine? And you responded by saying, well, they didn't have drop boxes. And of course, my jaw dropped because I didn't really have an answer for it. But during the break, I came up with an answer, and it is the jerk store called, and they ran out of you. Okay. Now, I mean, no, there's got to be a way that
I love a Seinfeld reference.
Yeah, they could have cheated somehow. They could have. You still can go to you rustle up those ballots somehow and get the senior citizens to sign. I don't think they had to cheat.
There was cheating before there were ballot boxes, yes, but I mean, it was not the ballot boxes just facilitated it. There was no
look. I'm all in favor of getting rid of vote harvesting and legally getting rid of vote harvesting and drop boxes. And personally, I think you should probably own property in order to, preferably a slave, in order to vote. But no, no, it's just anyway. So I thought I had a really good answer for you there. All right, coming up in the next segment,
and I think when you said slave, I think you meant I think you meant it in the 50 Shades of Grey fashion.
Oh yes, so. Of course not. Yeah, thanks for saving me on that one, because I'd be trying. I was really just joking. It was an innocent construction there. I meant there's a sex slave, which there's nothing wrong with. Bruce Wolf and Tim Slagle on the Weekly Wrap.
People, put that phone down, girl. God bless you. It's my son. Who, by the way, wanted to make sure that his absentee ballot was that I did that. And I had trouble actually voting for him absentee ballot today. And that made me very concerned. It was the first time. I was told to put it in an orange bag on the floor. And the orange bag looked to me like a Target bag or something. And I said, isn't there a formal election box that says absentee ballots or something like that? And then she said, let me check. And then found it. Mm-hmm. Wow. So that concerned me.
Slagle on the Weekly Wrap. Yeah, it does look like there is vote fraud on The View. Is that where that was from? But most of the voters on The View did it legitimately. So I don't think it was enough to sway the election. So yeah, they're always going to get a little fraud from an idiot on The View. That was The View, right? So
I don't know. I've never watched The View.
I watched it a couple of times. One of my former colleagues, Paula Ferris, was on there it for a while, but then she got kicked off it because, first of all, she was beautiful, and no way Whoopi wanted to have that. Also, she was pretty conservative too. She gave Hillary Clinton a hard time about the abortion issue a few years ago. I don't know what happened to Paula. I used to work with her on Channel 5.
What's happening to Whoopi? Holy cow! I think they should call her Whoopi the Hutt.
So yeah, I love Whoopi and Sister Act, but that was like half a lifetime and half a body ago, probably. So
it's Andy Kindler actually said he was doing the State of the Comedy address at Montreal Comedy Festival a few years back, and he actually said, "I've got $1 million in my pocket. I will give to anyone that can tell me something funny that Whoopi Goldberg said." Ever.
Well,
right here.
The name is kind of funny. I mean, she was originally Karen with a Y in it, which is kind of exotic. So as far as Trump goes, now I have to admit I did laugh, and normally I just think Trump is like presidential funny, like a woman is office pretty, you're good. But he said he's ripping DeSantis, and he says stuff like, well, it's no big deal that a lot of people are going to Florida. Anybody would go to Florida. Even Trump went to Florida because it's so cold in the north. And then he had his little Frankie Pentangelo moment because he says, hey, I helped him in 2017 when his career was in jeopardy, and there was some candidate named Putnam or something that
Sure.
Santos was up against. That was kind of like, take one for the team right now, Ronnie. And he's also mentioned, which I didn't think was all that persuasive, that he got more votes in 2020 in Florida than DeSantis just got, which I think is a little apples and Florida oranges. But in any event,
they're measuring hand size again. Holy
there
cow.
we go. So what do you think? I mean, the conventional wisdom, and why should I believe conventional wisdom? Conventional wisdom had it that it was going to be a Republican red wave. What the conventional wisdom now is that it's Trump's fault, and I tend to agree with it.
What time is this that we've heard that this is the end of Trump? Is this like number 257 times that people have declared the end of the Trump era?
This is like Bullwinkle. He finally will pull that rabbit out of the hat.
This time for sure.
Yeah, excellent. I don't do a bad Rocky, so we could go on tour that. No, the best one I do is Dudley Do Right. Okay, of all those those characters back. I'll save you now. I mean, that's pretty good, right? Am I right about that?
Yeah, that's not bad.
So I know he may not be. Well, the next big moment is he going to announce, like, before the Georgia runoff, which could make the Georgia runoff a referendum on Trump, and does he really want that? So maybe he shouldn't run. and he's also blaming a lot of people. He blamed Melania. This is what I heard. Blame Melania for his endorsement of Dr. Oz, which, it makes certain sense. You can imagine
it makes a whole lot of sense.
Well, you can imagine Melania watching Dr. Oz on Oprah.
Yeah, absolutely.
And thinking, oh no, this guy's really good. I mean, you got to remember who Melania is. She actually plagiarized a Michelle Obama speech, and may not have even known that it was plagiarism. Oh, you can't do that. New York is where I'd rather stay. I get allergic spelling. Hey,
no. Here's a question here. Was Oz Trump's original endorsement? I cannot remember.
I don't remember.
Was he endorsing someone else in the primary? Maybe Chris.
I don't know, but
and,
wasn't that seat held by Pat Toomey?
Yeah.
Didn't he quit because of Trump? I mean, and we could have won that one. I mean, Fetterman. Yeah. I mean, seriously.
A meme I saw going around was Barack Obama holding up Fetterman's hand, and the caption is Barack Obama says, "When you're blue and do not know where you're going to, why don't you go where fashion sits?" And then Fetterman goes,
Exactly. Which reminds me of a quick story, totally off the thing. So I was in this dance contest. It was to benefit breast cancer research, the celebrity dance contest.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to rehearse for like six.
Recently?
It was like about 7 or 8 years ago. Had to rehearse with an Arthur Murray dancer, and she was fantastic. And we all did, all these contestants, local yokel celebrities like me. And there were 500 people there and everything. And I was so nervous. And what I did was I did it to putting on the Ritz. And because I thought that would be so much fun. And I learned all these moves, and I was, I was doing it wonderfully. And we videotaped it. And is this me? Oh, it is. Oh my God.
My gosh.
Oh my goodness. It's a video of me doing quick stepping with putting on the Ritz. I mean, look, it really happened. Oh, and she's gorgeous. If you notice, I was supposed to rip off part of her dress, and I'm not bad there. I'm not terrible, but anyway.
Oh my gosh.
They got everything on video.
Wardrobe malfunction there.
Yeah. Well, no, I'm supposed to do it, but she winds up having to rip it off herself because I whiffed on ripping off part of her dress. But anyway, so I'm doing it. Oh, look, she puts her head. I'd love to do.
Was she wearing underwear?
Huh?
Was she wearing underwear?
I thought you were asking. I was, which would have been quite dangerous. I mean, she was quite becoming. So anyway, I do this, and we show the video to my father-in-law, and he And he says,
I'm sorry, she just did the full splits and you got about halfway down.
Sure. I mean, it wasn't bad. It wasn't bad.
That's further
Bruce
than I
Wolf
could
and Tim
go.
Slagle with the play-by-play in color of one of the worst dancing performances ever. So my father-in-law says, he says, "Oh, were you trying in all innocence? Were you doing a Young Frankenstein impersonation?" So putting on the
I
Ritz.
would have. I would have.
So in other words, he thought I was so
no.
unwieldy, and but actually, when I look at it, it's I wasn't horrible.
No,
it was okay. I think fortunately, it was strictly a participation trophy kind of thing. Although there was a first prize winner, and it was Des Clark, the tight end of the Bears. Well, this guy danced for a living. I mean, he ran into the end zone and did moves and all that. And I think they never gave the totals, but I'm sure that I finished last in it. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, my former radio partner who I've ripped in this show today, Dan Propt, I think he did it the next year. And not only did he raise a lot of money, because he probably got, who knows, Uline to donate. I mean, this guy is really good at getting people to donate money, whereas I got nobody to donate any money. I think he may have won the contest, if I'm not mistaken, or worst finished second, because he was a break dancer in his youth. And then he went wrong. But anyway, I just, so Trump, somehow we're back to Trump. Do we think that he's, he should go away? I mean, is he a cancer on the Republican Party now?
Absolutely not. No, I mean, so the major races, the Dr. Oz, the general, I'm going to say his name wrong in New Hampshire,
Old Dunk or whatever. Yeah,
yeah,
he's horrible.
Yeah,
Mastriano, horrible,
but still won the House. And if you look,
thanks to Trump.
Well, if you look at his candidates, they were very slim margins. They won. They went against Democratic
Bailey, who embraced Trump. All these guys who embraced Trump went down. The only one and she's still alive, is Kari Lake. She may be able to survive that. I mean, she's got a lot of charisma. Maybe it's Arizona, whatever.
Wasn't Blake Masters a Trump candidate?
Blake Masters is all over the place. I mean, you talk about he's Trumpian in that I think he flip-flopped on abortion, not as fast as Trump did it. I think he had 3 positions in 36 hours once. But
you do realize that Marco Rubio, who won his seat by 15 points, had a Trump rally the night before the election.
Yes, Trump was there for 5 minutes, and Trump is also, I noticed, sucking up to Brian Kemp. He did that, and Kemp, who rebuffed him. So Trump is not a total idiot. He realizes he's got to somehow get maybe your sister gets elected in Michigan, but you're not going to get anybody elected in Indiana. And we got to jettison that. We got to get smart like the Democrats did with a Glenn Youngkin. You agree? Youngkin would be a good guy, right? You'd vote for him for president, wouldn't you? Glenn Youngkin,
I know who he is.
Yeah, but you're giving me that glazed over look, so I was like,
yeah, it's the thing is whoever the Republicans choose is going to be attacked so mercilessly by the media. I don't know if any other candidate can stand up to the media the way Trump did. That's
he stands up, but it's just, I'm telling you, he'll be such a relief. All right, well, we've only got a couple of years to discuss that. Bruce Wolf, Tim Slagle on the Weekly Wrap.
And that's the Weekly Wrap on radio and television. Follow Bruce at Bruce Wolf Shy on Twitter and Tim at timslagle.com. The Weekly Wrap with Bruce Wolf, a CP Pods production. Copyright 2022.